Waalaikumsalam. Could not recognize you.
How are you?
Dr.
Okay.
Couldn't recognize you actually.
Okay.
How are
So
you?
my session hasn't started yet, right?
Yeah, in 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you?
It's fine, thank you. Are you in Tehran? Yeah.
Yes.
Still in Tehran. Okay, right. We'll try to do one in Shiraz sometime later. Yeah.
Okay. My pleasure.
Right. Okay. So 1 minute now, and I'll leave it to you. You got your schedule.
Okay.
List schedule.
Yes, I do have.
I believe all are eager to present a
Sure.
paper. So I now welcome Dr. Sharona from Tehran. Over to you, Dr. Sharona.
Hello to everyone. Thanks to Prof. Yusuf and other colleagues in ABRA. So I welcome all of you to the conference of today. And I would like to remind all of you that today is another session for us to learn from each other. So any comment given by me or colleagues is just to strengthen your body of knowledge and research. So I would like to welcome Ms. Nurulain Muhammad, if you're here.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I guess I can hear you. I would just like to remind you that you have 10 minutes of presentation and 15 minutes of presentation and 10 minutes of Q&A. So just let me check again. Prof, is it like 10 minutes presentation, 15 minutes? Yeah, I guess so. All right. Okay, so in this case, anytime you are ready, you just let me know.
Aku lambat je ni. Aku tak ada masalah. Yang penting aku jangan ada. Boleh aku dah.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am about to share my screen.
Okay, anytime that you start your screen sharing with us, I will record the time for you.
All right, okay.
Take your time. And then in case that you have any international co-author or co-presenter, introduce as well.
All right, okay.
Okay, so the screen is yours and good luck.
Okay. All right. Okay, assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Okay, welcome and welcome to everyone. First, let me introduce myself. I am Nurulain and I'm from Center of Optometry, Faculty of Health Sciences, Universiti Teknologi MARA, Puncak Alam. I am here to present my research, and these are my co-authors as well as me, myself, Nurulain, Nurhana Mota Effendi from Malaysia, Siti Alam, and Nur Shuhada Azni is from Seri Begawan, Brunei. All right, so basically these are the outlines for today's presentation. All right, so before, let me just start by giving you some brief background information of the topic that I'll be discussing. So basically, as you are aware, in recent years, digital device usage has increased significantly across all age groups, where extensive daily use for social and professional purposes is now considered normal. But the concern is how do these trends, affecting the visual performance. All right, so most of the manufacturers, for the electronic devices incorporate a few new technologies in their design to make sure that these electronic devices are able to be used in low light environments where there is an integrated light has been incorporated into the devices. And apart from that, the polarity of the text background contrast can be adjusted to the user's demands and preferences for a better visual experience. So the contrast of an image or text is a well-known factor that might influence the visual function of the eye. So nowadays, most electronic screens have light and dark modes, I believe. So light is also known as a positive polarity, and dark also known as a negative polarity. And the accommodation has been identified as a factor in computer-related symptoms following a prolonged smartphone use. And majority of the digital device users have a significant prevalence of visual discomfort, especially after a prolonged usage. Basically, these studies haven't agreed on which display mode is more conducive to visual performance and visual fatigue. Some studies found that positive polarity is more beneficial, especially to certain age group, where it provides more comfort, especially during reading tasks. But some study found that negative polarity is more conducive, especially in low light environment. And so previous studies haven't agreed on which display mode is more conducive. So that comes to the objective of the study. Okay, the first objective is to assess the changes in the amplitude of accommodation as a function of different display polarities. And the second objective is to ascertain the effect of display polarity on visual fatigue among digital device users. And last but not least is to investigate the relationship between the amplitude of accommodation and visual fatigue. Now let's move on to the methodology. So basically this study was a cross-sectional study, and 30 subjects were recruited from the young adult population with an age range from 20 to 25 years old. The subjects underwent a reading task for 30 minutes with both positive and negative polarities at randomly. And the amplitude of accommodation was measured using a Royal Air Force rule. And the subjects were required to complete a subjective symptoms questionnaire before and after the reading task. So basically, the amplitude of accommodation, which is the objective measurement of the study, and also the visual fatigue symptoms questionnaire was conducted before and after the 30 minutes of reading task. So basically, these are the flow of the procedure, where begins with a screening assessment to identify the including and inclusion and exclusion criteria, and then proceed with the first 30 minutes reading with the condition 1 randomly. It's either positive or negative display polarity, and then we measure the post AA and post VF, and then there's a 15 minutes washing period before proceed with the second condition readings, 30 minutes reading with second display polarity, and then the post AA and post VF were measured. All right, so this is the findings. The effect of display polarity on amplitude of accommodation and visual fatigue after reading a comparison of AA between different types of polarity were analyzed with Wilcoxon sign rank test to evaluate the relationship between the objective and subjective determinations. The correlation between the changes of post AA and post changes in total subjective eye symptom score were using single linear regression analysis. So based on our findings, okay, there are three main findings. The first one is the effect of polarity on the amplitude of accommodation. it shows that post-AA is significantly reduced in both polarities. Okay, and the second main findings, okay, the effects of display polarity on visual fatigue symptoms through the questionnaire. The post-visual fatigue symptoms were substantially more significant with both polarities. And the third findings was the relationship between post-AA and post-visual fatigue. So the change in post-AA after 30 minutes of reading with both polarities was not significantly correlated with the change in post-subjective eye symptoms score. So the present study evaluated the amplitude of accommodation and visual fatigue symptoms before and after 30 minutes of reading, and then the polarity between positive and negative were compared. So the polarity effect was due to the display luminance effect, and also the overall luminance of positive polarity displays was usually higher than that of negative polarity displays. And it was found that positive polarity might reduce the visibility of reflected light, so it was more conducive to view in the case of glare or reflection problems. Okay. All right, so in conclusions, okay, both display polarities had significant effects on amplitude of accommodation and visual fatigue. However, there are some limitations and recommendations that can be further improved in future studies. Well, the participants in these studies were limited to a young adult between the ages of 20 to 25, and the accommodation and visual fatigue might differ from other ages. And since in this study, we only incorporated black and white target as a text and background. So it will be interesting to incorporate colors as well into the different polarity to further compare the visual performance as well as the visual fatigues. Well, I think with that, I end my presentations. Thank you for your attentions and also listening to this presentation.
Okay, thank you, my dear. Any question from the audiences, please? Is there any question from friends online? Okay, in this case, here, I just wanted to check with you a few things. I have to admit that this is not my topic of professionalism, I mean research and all, but still I wanted to check with you a few things. When you are doing the research, like effect of display polarity on amplitude of accommodation and visual fatigue, so that means in this research you needed to have co-authors from, if I don't mistaken, digital design, and if I don't mistaken, electrical engineering, at the same time, biology. So can you relate your co-author or your background to the topic, please?
Okay, so basically, the co-authors is they did perform the data collections during the data collections. Okay, and yeah, they involved during the data collections.
So what I'm saying is that your major is basically health science,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay, but in this case, it's a very unique topic that it needs to have supervision, or better to say, academic opinion towards digital design, since you're talking about all this kind of display polarity and electrical engineer. So that's why, and then a little bit of like biology. So this is my first question, is that since you are in health science, the topic suits you, but it's not only the health science that can cover the topic. And then, excuse me, and the whole scenario which I've been trying to find out a bit online, wanted to check with you is that, so is there any changes between the brands? Let's say you're talking about when you make it very wide, saying that effects of display polarity on accommodation and visual fatigue. So can you compare, I mean, let's say, when we talk about phone, can you compare iPhone and Xiaomi and other Chinese brand, or Samsung all together, or didn't you need to specify which type of phone you're talking about, or which type of laptop you're talking about?
All right, thank you for the question. So basically, this is a pilot study. So the pilot study we did on the laptop. We didn't yet incorporate smartphones or any kind of different brands of smartphones. Well, I think that will be a good suggestion, maybe for us to do further studies during maybe comparison between different brands of smartphones or even laptops.
All right, so then that means for now on, what I found out is that maybe your topic could be narrowed down, saying that effect of display polarity and visual fatigue, I mean, using laptop users, something like that. Because I was confused finding about whether you're talking about
electronic
like,
device.
when you talk phones, when you say electronic devices, it's quite wide.
Okay.
All right, so I have no more comments. I still want to know whether there is any audience who wants to ask you any question. Otherwise, good luck with your future study, and we can proceed with our
Thank you, Doctor. Have a nice day.
Presenter. You're welcome. You too. Bye-bye. So, shall we proceed with our second presenter, Miss Nur Shazrin Aida?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I will share screen right now.
I just wanted to say something regarding me being able to give you comments on your presentation. I would suggest all of you to give, let's say, even a few minutes of video. It's going to help a lot because I cannot see your facial eye contacts and all. If it's possible for you, proceed with your video. If it's not, it's fine. You just go ahead with your presentation. Okay. So it's much better now. So if you can start sharing your screen with us.
So you can see right now?
I can see right now, yes, and good luck. I'll mute my speaker and then I will talk to you in 10 minutes.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. So today I'm Shazrin Shaifuddin and also my co-author Suci Amanati would like to present the effects of plantar fascia, self-myofascial release on pain and flexibility among adults with low back pain. So I am sure all of you here already know or familiar about low back pains, right? So what is basically low back pains? So low back pain refers to pains or discomfort that start below your costal margin and above your gluteal fold, either with or without the radicular pain towards your lower extremity. So I will proceed with the prevalence. As you can see in the slide, there was an increased prevalence of low back pain in global population and also specifically in Malaysia, which is from 2014 to 2019. However, there is still unclear study that show the exact prevalence of low back pain recently. However, based on this trend, we can conclude that low back pain is one of the serious conditions among us right now. So what is the risk factor that can lead to low back pain? Basically, there's a lot of factors that can lead to low back pain. However, in my recent study, I just focusing on one factor, which is sustained posture, prolonged sitting more than 4 hours. So how sustained posture can lead to low back pain? I will give you an example. For example, if we are sitting in a prolonged duration for more than 4 hours, our body will automatically develop abnormal posture, such as slouch position. This is because our muscle getting tired as time goes by. So this abnormal posture can cause excessive tension and micro trauma on our superficial backline muscle, and hence lead to fibroblastic activity. And if there are no treatment was applied in this phase, it can cause formation of muscle knot, then leads to muscle spasm, muscle stiffness, and then low back pain. So before this, I just say about the superficial backline muscle, right? So have you ever heard about the superficial backline muscle? So I will tell you guys. So superficial backline muscle is a group of muscle that start from the anterior surface of your cranium and attach at the plantar aponeurosis. So in this study, I'm focusing on one part only of the superficial backline muscle, which is plantar fascia in the plantar aponeurosis. Okay, so proceed with the literature review. Most of the previous studies state that MFR or myofascial release able to reduce pain among low back pain patients and also increase muscle flexibility. However, most of the previous study are performing MFR on the pain area only or on the multiple parts of the muscle rather than focusing on the one part of the superficial backline, exclude the pain area. And most of the previous study are combining the myofascial release treatment with other treatments such as exercise, ultrasound, or hot therapy. And then most of the previous study also performing myofascial release rather than self-myofascial release. So these two, what is the difference between myofascial release and self-myofascial release is myofascial release are performing by a certified physiotherapist rather than self-myofascial release are performing by the patient itself. Okay, so the reason, so this study could be beneficial for the development of a better rehabilitation program, and also can act as a prevention management among the sedentary lifestyle participants or individual, which is need to sit more than 4 hours in a day, and also at the same time can reduce the prevalence of low back pain in globally and also specifically in Malaysia. Okay, so for the next slide, I proceed to Madam Suchi.
Okay, thank you, Sazrin. For the research objective is to compare self-myofascial release versus hamstring static stretching on pain and flexibility among adults with low back pain, and then to determine the short term of self-myofascial release on the plantar fascia on pain and flexibility among adults with low back pain. And as for the research question, the first one is there a significant difference between self-myofascial release on plantar fascia versus hamstring static stretching, of course, on pain and flexibility among adults with low back pain? And the second one is there a significant short-term effect of self-myofascial release on plantar fascia on pain and flexibility among adults with low back pain? For a hypothesis is there is a significant difference between self-myofascial release on plantar fascia and hamstring static stretching exercise on pain and flexibility among adults with low back pain? And the last one is there is a significant short-term effect of self-myofascial release on plantar fascia on pain and flexibility among adults with low back pain. Okay, for the next presentation, back to Sazrin.
Okay, thank you, Chichi. Okay, so for the study design, this current study design is quasi-experimental design and was conducting in one of the physiotherapy center in Selangor, Malaysia. And total, the participant was 70 participants, which is excluded, already excluded 15 participants because of not meeting the inclusion criteria and also refused to participate. So the 17 participants was allocated into two groups, which is 35 in the intervention group and 35 in the control group. So for the intervention group, the participant will perform the self-MFR on the plantar fascia using a tennis ball, which is the participant will roll the tennis ball from the forefoot to the heel foot, following the beats of the metronome. And in the control group, the participant will perform the hamstring stretching exercise repeated for 6 times. Okay, so for the pain score, I'm using the visual analog scale to assess the pain score. And for the flexibility, I'm using the modified sit and reach test score to measure the flexibility. And lastly, the data were analyzed using the SPSS software versions. The comparison, we're using the AicQoL, and also the short-term effect, we're using the PETI test. Okay, so this is the table 1, the result. You can see the demographic characteristic of the study populations. Most of the participants are female, which is 53, and most of them are Malay. And then most of the participants sits more than 6 hours a day and standing less than 4 hours a day. Okay, so next for table 2 shows the comparison, the result of the comparison between pain and flexibility, on pain and flexibility between self-MFR and also hamstring static stretching exercise. We can see that there is a significant difference in pain between the self-myofascial release and also hamstring static stretching. And in the table 3, we can see that there is a significant short-term effect of self-myofascial release on both, which is on pain and flexibility among adults with low back pain. Okay, so for the research objective 1, which is the comparison, my recent study result is supported by the previous study by Shamsi et al. 2020 and Borman et al. 2011. This could be due to after performing the hamstring static stretching exercise, the local alterations form in the muscle, thus increasing the spine flexibility. However, the recent study result also contrasts with the previous study by Urijas and also Balasubramaniam 2014 could be due to the lack of experience and inappropriate pressure with tool assisted during performing the self-myofascial release. And also most of the previous study are performing MFR on the pain area and on the multiple area in one sessions. And also they are mostly combining the myofascial treatment with other treatments. So for the second objective, they show a significant effect in short-term effect of self-MFR on pain and flexibility, and this is supported by the previous study. Then it could be due to after performing the self-myofascial relief itself, it will trigger the collagen rearrangement, which is return the fascia tissue to its standard line, hence increase the muscle flexibility, reduce the muscle spasm, and then increase the lower back pain. Okay, so in conclusion, self-myofascial release on plantar fascia show a significant short-term effects on pain and flexibility. However, there is no significant difference between self-myofascial release and static hamstring stretching exercise on pain among low back pain individuals. So for the recommendation, these treatments, self-myofascial treatments, able to be one of the effective home exercise program among low back pain patients, and also can be as a prevention management among individuals with a sedentary lifestyle that needs to sit more than 4 hours in a day. And for the future research, suggest that to assess the long-term effect of self-myofascial release rather than short-term effect only, and also give pre-education before performing the how to perform the self-MFR before conducting the research. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for managing your time. Is there any question from the audience? Okay, in this case, let me ask you a question or just some comments that I have. Meanwhile, the time that I received your slide and the topic, so I made a little bit of research. It seems when you search for articles regarding low back pain, the main solution is the same as your topic. This tennis ball that you have to roll on with your. So I just wanted to make it in a very clear sentence that since we have similar topics with a similar recommendation. How can you specify your research? What is the point in your research that we couldn't have in other research with the same topic?
So
What
basically,
makes you different? Is that regarding Malaysia? Maybe this is first time that you're doing it in Malaysia, or what is in your topic which is different from other same researchers?
okay, so basically there is a limited study on the self-myofascial release on the plantar fascia in Malaysia, and also most of the previous study are forming self-myofascial release using tennis ball, but on the pain area, which is on the lower back itself, compared on the plantar fascia.
Okay, so if I don't mistake, and I have found some research, maybe it's not about Malaysia. I try to find a source for you. National Institute of Health. So they did the same research, that they use this tennis ball with foot pressure and all these things. Anyway, that was very informational, and then I guess maybe that was the first time doing the same research in Malaysia. That could be the difference. And then since me and the audiences, we didn't have the full paper, when you do the presentation, whatever we receive, it's going to be all the information in your slide. That's why I would suggest you see, for your example, for example, you have done a very good effort on your methodology. I can see that with this slide, I can see that you have done a proper job. But when it comes to literature review, you put two main topic on the, then you put few literatures there. I would rather to see more of citation in other slides as well. And one more thing, just take it as a friend. When you do an academic presentation, most of the audiences are either your colleague or students for master degree or PhD degree. So in case that you want to refer to audience, avoid saying guys.
Sorry.
Use a little bit more proper academic language will help you. Anyway, I like your presentation personally, and good luck with your future studies. And it was good that you had your co-author to present as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So if you didn't want to add anything, so we can proceed with our next presenter. So if you're done and you don't want to add anything, so we can proceed with our next presenter. Thank you. Can we have Miss Siti Hozaima?
Hello, hi. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, testing.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, wait, yeah.
I can hear you very well. And then anytime you can start sharing your slide, we can proceed with your timing.
Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes, my dear, I can see your slide.
Okay. Okay, good morning. Sorry, good day. Good day to Dr.
For me, it's good morning, dear, because we have time
good morning,
differences.
Yeah, so
I had to wake up at 6.
So I'm Siti Kuzaima Ahmad Sharoni. Together with me, my friends Nik Hasmumtaj, Nik Hassan, Nur Hidayati, and Shidatul Buduri. We are from UiTM Selangor Pucuk Alam, while Nik from Universiti Malaya Medical Center and Shidatul from Universitas Nahdlatul Surabaya from Indonesia. So together we would like to share our research finding titled Prevalence of Obesity and Help Promoting Lifestyle Among Nurses in a Tertiary Hospital, Malaysia. So for the background, a person's lifestyle is influenced by health promoting lifestyle behavior. And according to Global Assessment of Health and Quality of Life conducted by the World Health Organization, 60% of quality of life is lifestyle dependent. So our lifestyle influence affect the quality of life. In a study conducted in Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, nurses, the study found that nurses and midwives have a higher prevalence of obesity and overweight. In Malaysia, 30.4% of overweight adult and 19.7% were obese. In Selangor, Malaysia, the prevalence of overweight and obesity among healthcare workers found 46.1%. Okay. And however, there is at least published studies conducted about the health promoting lifestyle and the prevalence of obesity among nurses. Therefore, our objective is to identify the prevalence of obesity among nurses, to determine the level of health promoting lifestyle, and to determine the relationship between the health promoting lifestyle and body mass index among nurses. So this is the literature review related to prevalence of obesity, and prevalence of overweight and obesity varied, depending on the individual age, race, and ethnicity, and as well as the country of origin. WHO, World Health Organization, revealed that 650 million out of 1.9 billion adults were overweight, and in 2016, all of they were obese. In Malaysia, according to National Health Mobility Survey, found that the prevalence of obesity increased from 15.1% to 17.7% in 2011, and the number was increased in 2015 at about 90.9%, in 2019 to 2020 about 20.1%, and this study was conducted among Malaysian adults aged between 18 to 59, and obesity also was common among healthcare professionals in Peninsular Malaysia. Then adult population, I mean the community, and it was significantly more prominent among nurses as compared to doctors and other professional groups. And the primary reason might due to unhealthy diet pattern, long working hours, and work stress, and this can lead to obesity among those nurses. Okay, this health promoting lifestyle and obesity related to nurses and healthcare workers. Studies in the US found that the nurses aged between 40 to 49 and over 50 had lower total health promoting lifestyle profile as compared to younger colleagues. And study in Turkey found the nurses score highest in spiritual growth regarding the self-actualization, and from the same study also found that nurses scored the highest in nutrition and interpersonal relationship in health promoting lifestyle comparing to other community, and they adopt better nutrition, physical activity, and health responsibility as compared to other profession. Okay, this study was conducted this is a cross-sectional study and conducted via an online administered questionnaire, and the population was nurses in Universiti Malaya Medical Center, and the study was approved by the Research Ethical Committee from UiTM and also from the respected hospital, and the instrument used was the English version of Health Promoting Lifestyle Profile 2, and also the Malay version of Profile Galakan Gaya Hidup Sihat, meaning that if the respondents prefer, they can choose whether they want to answer the questionnaire in English version or in Malay version. Both are give the same meaning translated. Okay. And the question, sorry, I'm not feeling well. So the questionnaire divided into two sections. For part A is socio-demographic, and part 2 is self-reporting of HPLP, and this questionnaire consists of 6 sub-scale, and the scoring and this study used a Likert scale from a neighbor to routinely, and this study was conducted between July 2022 to August 2022, and it involved 417 registered nurse working in UMMC. And the findings, the studies found that for the objective one, the prevalence of obesity among nurses was high, whereby the prevalence of obesity 56%, and the overweight was 16%, meaning that more than half of the nurses were overweight and obese. And the studies found that the BMI, the mean of the BMI was 26.16, meaning that the BMI was on average the nurses body weight was BMI was obese. And for the health promoting lifestyle, the total health promoting lifestyles shows a moderate score where 142 for the mean, and for the each scales, the studies found that the spiritual growth was the highest, was the highest score by the respondent, whereby 27.84, followed by the interpersonal relationship 26.82, nutrition 23.34, health responsibility 22.59, stress management 22.43, and the lowest score was 19.45, which was physical activity. And for the correlation between the HPLP and the body mass index, the health responsibility found associated, there was small association, positive association between health responsibility and body mass index. The other variable were not associated with the body mass index. And for the discussion, this study found that obesity among nurses in this study is prevalent, and however it was undefined, and the relationship with the other variable. And according to previous studies, comparing to previous study, the prevalence was obesity was high among the older nurses, and this might due to the burden of ill and health, and due to the basal metabolic rate, and it reducing as one gets older. And also the other factors is due to an intense focus on job and caring for numerous patients daily, that may limit the nurses or the healthcare worker time for exercise and to maintain a healthy weight. And for the health promoting lifestyle, this study shows that the spiritual growth was the highest score in the subscale, and shows and it was supported that nurses had focused on the spiritual component and wellness, and related to the trend promoting interest in spirituality. And about the interpersonal relationship, also shows a positive relationship around them, and care about the appreciate others for their accomplishment and positive working environment by proper recognition and management. And the nutrition was moderate, and according to the National Health and Nutrition Examination Service found that 94.9% of people do not consume the recommended 5 serving of fruits and vegetables daily. And the health responsibility shows that nurses maintain a healthy lifestyle and aware of identifying signs and symptoms of mental health to maintain good health and provide safe and effective nursing service. And the second lowest was the stress management. And this might due to the workload, the work environment, organization, and lack of proper acknowledgement that can increase the nurses' stress level, and also that less on meditation about the relaxation on handling their stress. It might due to the hormonal imbalances. And also the lowest score was the physical activity, attribute to the circumstances such as nurses might have lack of time to perform the exercise due to the facilities provided, the schedule, as nurses working, majority of them work in shift, and exercise that not fit around their duty schedule or their roster. Yes, roster. And for the conclusions, this study found that uh, majority of the nurses were overweight and obese, and the physical activities found the lowest score, and therefore this exercise, exercise is required for the nurses, to promote health, lifestyle promoting behavior, so that they can improve to the healthy lifestyle, as well as they can control their body weight and improve the stress level, or the management, they can provide the stress management course in reducing the stress, especially in the work environment, and empowering nurses to do more physical activity by providing a gym that can be highlighted as priority. Okay, this is the references. Thank you to the conference committee.
Thank you for your very well presentation, and take some glass of water there. So, any question from the audience? Okay, I just wanted to complete your presentation with few comments. According to the National Library of Medicine in USA, there was no difference between male and female nurses' attitudes towards obesity, but still I haven't had any information in your slide saying that if you have been in your questionnaire, if you have noticed any differences between, because that one was for America, I'm not sure about Malaysia, number of nurses that they are male, based on the gender, is it different, the amount of obesity between, male nurses and female nurses? Do you want to add anything?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sharona, for your question and for your information. We did analyze, the differences between the health promoting lifestyle and the social demographic data, and it is found there is no relationship at all between the HPLP and the social demographic data. And also for your information, the percentage of male nurses in our study only 7.7%, which was 32, only 32 respondents involved in this study. So the number relatively small.
Okay, so that means you answered this question. And then when you were explaining regarding, I will find it. Okay, health promoting lifestyle profile. So the number 2 was a spiritual growth. I couldn't follow what you mean by spiritual growth. That can you just a little bit explain to me what can you define as a spiritual growth?
Yeah,
that
thank you.
As much as they became more believer, they eat more? I didn't get that point.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sharona, for your question. So actually, spiritual growth is more likely to the spirituality. The connection of an individual to the spiritual. It doesn't mean that person should be religious, but how they can connect themselves to the spiritual.
All right, okay, thank you. I don't have any further question, and I wish you luck with your future studies. And one more thing that I wanted to check with you, I just remembered. Is there any differences between the results that you took from the questionnaire from private hospital and public hospital?
Okay, this study was conducted in a tertiary hospital, in a university hospital. So far, we didn't find any differences between the private and the government, but maybe in future we can conduct or find such studies. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Because as for my understanding, since I'm doing the same field of research, which is healthcare design, usually hospitals, I mean private hospitals, they do have some guideline regarding the physical appearance of nurses. That's why I wanted to check with you whether you have considered type of hospital for this kind of research as well. Maybe you can proceed with that in future and take it into your consideration.
Yeah. Thank you for your
Okay.
suggestion.
You're welcome. And I hope you will get well soon. Okay, take care, my dear. So, can we proceed with our next presenter, Miss Balgis Sophia?
Yes, doctor, I'm here.
If you are available. All right. So, if you can share your screen, we can start your presentation. And then please introduce yourself and your co-author.
Okay, doctor.
All right. So, I will leave it up to you.
Can you see my slide, doctor?
Not yet. It says that you have started your screen sharing, but it's not up yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Can you see my slide now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sharona. Good morning to Dr. Sharona and good afternoon to the fellow researchers. Today I will be representing the co-authors, Dr. Siti Sabaria Buhari and Dr. Khairil Anwar Isa from UiTM Puncak Alam, Malaysia, and Ms. Zulia Setianingrum from Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, Indonesia. So today I will be presenting my paper, our paper, the development and validation of food frequency questionnaire for ultra-processed food consumption among adults in Malaysia, which is a protocol study. Moving to the background of the study, progressively complex processing methods have modified the food structure, taste, and nutritional content to make the food last longer and hyper-palatable. Studies found that ultra-processed food consumption is linked to poor dietary nutrient profiles such as high in energy density, high in free sugar, fats, and sodium, which increase the risk of obesity and non-communicable diseases, not only among children, but also among adults. However, in previous studies, most of the data on ultra-processed food consumptions have been derived from general FAQ and 24-hour dietary recall, which are not specifically validated to estimate the intake of this food group. Hence, it is useful to have tools specifically validated to assess ultra-processed food consumption, especially among Malaysian adults, to help determining its association with health status. However, there is limited FAQ available to assess and evaluate this food group among adults in Malaysia. Thus, this study aims to develop and validate FAQ specifically on ultra-processed food intake among Malaysian adults. Next, these are the research objectives for this study. First, to develop a food frequency questionnaire assessing the ultra-processed food intake, FFQ-UPF. So to fulfill this objective, there are three strategies. Ultra-processed food items will be identified from 3 days 24-hour diet recall and literature review, and the frequency of intake and portion size will be derived from literature review. For second objective is to validate the newly developed FFQ UPF through its relevancy and essentiality. To achieve this objective, there are 4 approaches, including content validation by the expert panels, case validity, criterion validity, and reproducibility of newly developed FFQ UPF among adults in Malaysia. Moving on to the literature review, for the first diagram, multiple classification systems have been proposed resulting from the requisite to characterize foods based on their processing levels. Standards classification system used in nutrition research produced by NOVA Food Classification System, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, the International Food Information Council, IFIC, and the University of North Carolina, UNC. From these 4 systems, only NOVA used the term ultra-processed food, while other systems use the term highly processed food. Plus, most research related to ultra-processed food use NOVA to classify the food group. In second diagram, studies found that ultra-processed food are high in energy density, high overall fat content, saturated and trans fat levels of high levels of free sugars and sodium, but low in fiber, protein, vitamin, and potassium. Moving on to the bar chart, it was found that more than 50% of total energy intake in the US and UK were contributed by ultra-processed food. Meanwhile, in Chile, Mexico, China, Korea, and Indonesia, ultra-processed food contributed to up to 30% of total energy intake. In Malaysia, the latest study found that 23% of total energy intake were contributed by ultra-processed food among adults in Terengganu. Next, consumption of ultra-processed food has been linked to many adverse health effects, including weight gain and increase in waist circumference, cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes mellitus, metabolic syndrome, GI disorders, depression, breast cancer, irritable bowel syndrome, and all-cause mortality. Hence, it is important to have a validated dietary assessment tool for ultra-processed food to monitor the intake. In the second diagram, majority of the previous studies assessing the consumption of ultra-processed food via multiple pass 24-hour diet recall followed by food diaries and general FFQ. 24-hour diet recall and food diaries or food record are both open-ended assessment tools that gather a variety of detailed information on food consumption that usually performed in an in-depth interview or recorded by the subjects themselves. However, both methods only focus on short-term intake, and some respondents may intentionally under-reporting their diet. Besides, diet analysis from these methods may be time-consuming, laborious, and expensive to implement in epidemiological studies. Another strategy to assess and evaluate dietary intake is the Food Frequency Questionnaire, or known as FFQ, which is an advanced food checklist in the dietary method that queries the respondent about how often and how much the food they consume over a specific period. Compared to other methods, FFQ enables the long-term dietary intake assessment to be performed in a relatively simple, cost-effective, and time-efficient manner. To the best of our knowledge, the existing FFQs are not explicitly developed to assess ultra-processed food intake among adults in Malaysia. Hence, developing a new FFQ for this food group may help future research on ultra-processed food among Malaysians. Moving on to the development of FFQ, it is asserted that FFQ should be developed specifically for the population to accomplish the objectives or purposes of the study. So there are 3 vital components of FFQ, including food items, portion size, and frequency of intake. As individuals, social demographic and cultural backgrounds influence their diet, FFQ should be constructed uniquely for each study group and research objective. Next, validation of FFQ. The validation stage is critical for ensuring the questionnaire psychometric soundness accurately measures what it aims. So one of the validation for FFQ is content validation, which is a method of measuring the item's relevancy, essentiality, and clarity by entailing the expert panels to validate the translation and standardization of an instrument. Next is phase validity, is the extent to which a test appears to measure what is intended and involves service users or potential participants in all development stages of this instrument, which helps to improve the acceptability, relevance, and quality of the design tools. Next is criterion validation, which is it measures how well a design test measures the outcome by comparing it with established or validated tests. So for FFQ, previous studies usually compare this FFQ with 24-hour diet recall or diet record, or known as food record. Last but not least is reproducibility, which measures the consistency of the same participant in answering the same FFQ at different time points to improve the interpretation of estimated diet disease association. Moving on to the methodology, this is a cross-sectional study design and adapted from Fatiha et al. It consists of 5 steps, including development, content validation by expert panels, phase validation, criterion validation, and reproducibility of the newly developed FFQ UPF involving the potential participants. Okay, so this table showed the summary for sampling, measurement, data collection, and data analysis. So sampling for this study will differ in each step. So data collection will be conducted after the approval of the ITM Ethics Committee, and before participating, the subjects will be given a consent form. In first step, 162 Malaysian adults aged 19 to 59 years old will be interviewed for 24-hour diet recalls by the research team to acquire their dietary intake for 2 weekdays and 1 weekend. Subjects will be given a primary food checklist consisting of potential ultra-processed food consumed by Malaysian adults that is derived from literature review. And next, the list will be further refined, and after this process, a food frequency questionnaire for ultra-processed food will be developed. Next, 6 expert panels will validate the newly developed FFQ UPF on its contents, relevancy, and essentiality using Likert scale, which will be distributed via email, whereby scores and recommendations for each item will be calculated and considered for any changes. After content validations, another 50 subjects will be provided with the newly developed FFQ UPF and phase validity form during the interview. The subject's ability to answer or fill in the required information in the FFQ UPF will be observed. They will also be allowed to ask any question regarding FFQ UPF. Modifications will be made from the participants' feedback. Next, 105 Malaysian adults aged 19 to 59 years old will be interviewed for 3 days, 24-hour diet recall as a reference method to validate the newly developed FFQ. After 2 weeks, the same newly developed FFQ UPF will be administered again to the same subject in step 4 for reproducibility. Okay, so the expected date for data collection will be on 1st May 2023, and the last enrollment for last subject is 30th September 2023. So for data analysis in step 2, items relevancy will be analyzed with content validity index, and kappa statistic will be used to determine the experts' agreement on items relevancy. Next, the essentiality of an item will be determined by content validity ratio. For steps 3, items clarity and comprehensibility will be determined by phase validity index. In step 4, Pearson's correlation coefficient will be used to validate the newly developed FFQ UPF against 3 days 24-hour diet recalls, and the strength of FFQ UPF1 and FFQ UPF2 will be determined by Spearman's correlation coefficient. For discussion, the study aims to develop and validate FFQ for ultra-processed food, which helps in assessing the consumption of ultra-processed food among Malaysian adults. However, this study will not cover other nutritional outcomes or data, such as the direct relationship of ultra-processed food with weight status, non-communicable diseases, fasting blood sugar, and lipid profile. So in conclusion, the study aims to develop and validate food frequency questionnaire focusing on ultra-processed food products consumed by Malaysian adults, which may be used as a dietary assessment tool to assess mainly ultra-processed food in epidemiological studies. And this tool will help in monitoring and planning interventions for ultra-processed food consumption among Malaysians. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your presentation. Both graphic and the information, they were very fun presented. So any question from the audience? All right. So I just wanted to check with you a few things.
Yes.
First of all, thanks again for the information that you shared with us. By any chance, can you mention what was your recommendation? Because I could see your conclusion and discussion, but I still couldn't find that you would recommend, that you would have any recommendation by this research. You could propose for the research
I'm sorry.
or to the Ministry of Health.
Okay, so this tool will be helpful actually if it's developed and validated. It will be helpful for the policymakers to monitor the intake of ultra-processed food consumption among Malaysians as a whole in a mass study, not only on a small scale study.
All right, so that means recommendation was missing. I would like you to add to your slide because it helps a lot. And one more thing regarding your questionnaire, you said that the variety of, the audiences were the age of 19 to 59. Could you see any differences between generations in your questionnaire, or it was not relevant? Because maybe in my opinion, older generation, they have a better and healthier lifestyle for foods. So, but I just wanted to check with you whether you could see any differences between the ages.
As for now, to the best of my knowledge, for AicQoL development, we didn't really specify the age to collect the data. Well, as far as I read, it was found that younger generations eat more ultra-processed food compared to the older generations. But we decided to include a wide age group in this study.
All right, maybe for future studies, you can have something in mind to specify based on the age, because if you are recommending this research to government and Ministry of Health or any organization, so you have to come up with some more detailed specification regarding your research, and maybe you have to find, help to find some solution for young generation, because as I guessed and you confirmed, younger generation, they are more into ultra processed, all this like kind of fast foods, and the older generation, they have a healthier diet. So that's why I'm saying that maybe you have to bring it into future studies, some more consideration regarding the age of respondents.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Overall, very well done.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome and good luck. So in case that we can proceed with Miss Noor Halila, if you are around, please let me know.
Yes, I'm around. Okay, let me share my screen.
So welcome to the conference. As soon as you could share the screen, you can proceed with your presentation. Today, the presentations, they were all very smooth because you all had a very good time management. So far, we never had any time issue. All right, I can see your slides now. Good luck, and I will off my mic, and I will leave it to you.
Okay, can I start?
You may start anytime that you are ready. You can see your slides.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Okay, my name is Halila, Nur Halila Bari, with my co-author Nur Amnia Zulkifli and Asma Jama Abdul Wahid. We are from Faculty of Health Sciences, Universiti Teknologi MARA Malaysia, Metro Optical Group Malaysia, and also Taiwan International University Sulaimania, Iraq. We together would like to share with you our study entitled Career Choice Factor and Clinical Performance Among Health Sciences Students.
Okay, career choice is an individual decision-making process of selecting a profession or occupation that align with the individual interests, skill, value, and goals. It can significantly impact an individual future success, job satisfaction, and overall well-being. It often requires careful research, planning, and self-reflection that to ensure the chosen career path fit the individuals well. There are three factors or perspective of career choice factor. There are intrinsic, extrinsic, and interpersonal factor. The intrinsic factor is a personal factor corresponding to an individual interest, skill, attitude, cultural identity, and satisfaction, where choosing a career based on their interests can motivate them to remain engaged in the profession and ultimately lead to the higher job performance. Whereby the extrinsic factor in career choice include social connection, availability of resources, globalization, ethnic background, education level, choice of subject or study, and differences in the job characteristic. The interpersonal factor include parental support, peer influence, interaction with educator, and cultural factors. Interpersonal factor can significantly shape a student career choice. In the study of career choice factor among health sciences students, it was found that a combination of personal factor, job market demands, and social impact consideration influence the career choice of health sciences students, university students. Personal interest in healthcare also appeared to influence the career choice among the nursing, dentistry, and public health courses. Students who enjoy academic challenges, which the health sciences profession is quite challenging, and willing to pursue advanced degree may choose a profession that requires extensive education and training. And students also may consider to seek a job that high in demand and good offer, good employment offer opportunity in selecting the health sciences program. However, relatively, a few published studies demonstrate the connection between the career choice factor and the clinical performance. Therefore, we like to investigate furthermore on this matter. The research objective of this study is one, to determine the factor contributing to the career choice among health sciences students, and to investigate the correlation between the career choice factor and the clinical performance among the health sciences students. Okay, moving on to the method and methods of this study, it is a cross-sectional study with adapted questionnaire from previous study and using a purposive sampling with 112 respondents aged 20 years and above, and the respondents should be in the final year of health sciences students who undergo clinical training for the current semester and well-versed in English to answer the question because the questionnaire is in English. Okay, the questions that we're being used are divided into two sections, which are the section 1 comprised of demographic data, and the section 2 is the questionnaire itself, comprised of 5 factors and 26 items. The 5 factors are personal factor, environmental factor, economic factor, social factor, and professional factor. And it is a close-ended questions. For each item, come with a 5-point Likert scale to analyze respondent responses, ranging from strongly disagree, which score as 1, to strongly agree, that score as 5. So the questionnaire was transformed into an electronic survey using Google Form, and the link was distributed to the potential respondents through emails and WhatsApp application, mainly among the final years health sciences students. And the clinical performance of this respondent were obtained from the grade point average GPA for the clinical course registered in the current semester from the academic register of the faculty. So the result that we found for the first objective, the career choice among the health sciences student are divided into 5 factors based on the questionnaire, which are the personal, environmental factor, economic, social, and professional factors. For personal factor, most students strongly agree that they choose to help others in the future, followed by their own choice. While for environmental factor, students were seeking a career based on the parents' advice and making career decision based on their academic qualification. Okay, in terms of economic factors, students choose a career based on job availability and the stability of the job. And for social, students agree to choose career in health sciences because they like to interacting with others and strongly disagree to go by trend in class. While the last factor, perks and benefit associated with the job, was the professional factor that the health sciences student strongly agreed with. Okay. As discussion, educational qualification are the major criteria for Bangladeshi sciences student, which quite mimic to our study, and helping others is an important trait when indulging in the healthcare field, as it requires a high degree of compassion, empathy, and understanding. Health sciences students prioritize job availability as the highest career choice factor, and interest in interacting with people was the highest social factor, suggesting that health sciences students value communication skills. Students also agreed that perks and benefits associated with the job had influenced them in choosing the career in health science field. Benefits such as bonuses, salary, and employee benefit have indirectly allowed employees to continue improving their work even under stressful conditions. Okay, moving on to the second objective, in the exploration of the correlation of the career choice factor with the clinical performance among health sciences students. Okay, our analysis was divided into two: one for the overall respondent, and then we further investigate the correlation between two groups, which are the one who current courses is their first choice or not. For the overall correlation, it was found that environmental factors, some of the environmental factors are strongly correlated with clinical performance of the student, which I made decision based on my education, qualification, and background, and also I make the decision based on the lifestyle associated with the job, strongly associated with clinical performance of the student. And the social factor number 3, I made the decision because I like to interact with other people, also significantly correlated with the clinical performance of the health sciences student. Okay, moving on to the group that the current choice is their first choice or not, we found that, the total score of economic factor and the economic factor item number 4, I made decision based on the job availability, were strongly correlated and significantly correlated with the clinical performance of health sciences students. And environmental factor item number 7, I made decision based on the lifestyle associated with the job, also correlated significantly with the clinical performance. And I make decision because I like to interact with other people, which is a social factor item number 3, also significantly correlated with clinical performance among the health sciences students. Okay, therefore, we can see this as an educational background, lifestyle, and interest in interacting with others are correlated with the clinical performance, suggesting that students who choose a career based on their educational qualification and background tend to perform better in higher learning education. It also could be presumed that students were more inclined to choose a career with a good lifestyle and work-life balance that could be a drive to be better in academic, mainly clinical performance. Students also found that having greater control of their schedule and working hours could lead them to greater satisfaction, especially in terms of their clinical works. Okay, as a conclusion, there are some factors that influence career choice among health sciences students can be seen in the aspect of lifestyle associated with the job, ability to interact with other, job availability and stability, educational background, and qualification, and also parental advice. And these factors were found significantly correlated with the student clinical performance in the health sciences courses. Okay, with that, thank you so much for your attention. I end my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any question from the audience? All right, that was very complete, and I do not have any question too. If you don't want to add anything, we can proceed with our last present.
All right, a very good day to the chairman of this session, Dr. Sharona Gurbani, and all of the delegates of the AicQoL Bangkok 2023. My name is Shazain Mitiraza. I'll be presenting our work entitled Ocular Complaint and Visual-Related Activities Among Healthy Smokers. So these are the co-authors of this paper, Nur Fahana Kamuruzzaman, Nazmi Azrul Nur Azizi, Nur Farah Danisha Sulaiman. All of these are from Malaysia, and Tejpal Sohal is from California Healthcare Facility, USA. Okay, so a little bit on the introduction. According to the World Health Organization, the prevalence of current smokers is actually decreasing, and it is comparable with Malaysia as well. Our National Health and Morbidity Service in 2019 also mentioned that the prevalence of current smokers in Malaysia is actually decreasing. It's about 21.3%, but then it is actually comparably higher to the developed countries, and there is increment of young smokers in this prevalence. Okay, about the smokers type, we can generally divide the smokers into the conventional way is by using the tobacco cigarettes, and the modern way by using the electronic cigarettes. Okay, it is commonly known that the tobacco cigarettes, the conventional way, the composition of these tobacco cigarettes composed of thousands of hazardous chemicals that is potentially carcinogenic. Whereas for the electronic cigarettes, it is known that fewer toxins found in these electronic cigarettes, but then they also have free radicals, and the vapor that is vaporized from the aerosol is actually contain potentially hazardous chemicals that is need long-term investigation. The relation of the smoking and the eyes, many studies have done that associate the smoking and also the effect to the eyes. One of them is the smoking is actually able to cause damage of the precorneal film lipid layer, which lead to the poor tear film quality. In fact, the smoking also able to alter the meibomian gland, which also cause tear film damage as well. Apart from that, smoking also able to cause some kind of alteration of the cornea, the transparent structure at the outermost surface of the eye, and also change the corneal thickness. In terms of tissues, smoking also able to cause ischemic and hypoxic environment to the tissues, which involve the tissues at the retina as well. And then smoking at the retinal layer able to cause malfunctions of the retinal pigmented epithelial layer, hence will also lead to the macular degeneration. Nicotine in the electronic cigarettes has also been demonstrated to modify retinal response characteristic, hence also cause the problems in light and dark adaptation. And lastly, smoking also relate with the cataract information. So many of the studies have demonstrated that smoking able to cause some changes to the eye in terms of microscopic and macroscopic level. But then there is a lack of the visual and ocular related complaint which can arise due to the physiological changes of the smoking. And lack of the studies also document what are the visual and the ocular complaints specifically on different types of smoking behavior, and few of the studies deliberately pick healthy smokers. So our study objective is meant to, first, we would like to determine what are the ocular discomfort and what are the visual related activities complaint among the smokers. Number two, we would like to compare the ocular discomfort and visual activities complaint with different types of smoking behavior. And lastly, we would like to determine what are the association of different types of smoking behavior with the ocular discomfort and visual related activities complaint. So here's our methodology. So this study is the cross-sectional study by using the calculating sample size. The calculated sample size was 384, and the inclusion criteria must be Malaysian, more than 18 years old and residing in Selangor, must be smokers, whether tobacco smokers or electronic smokers or dual smokers. And then the participant must be healthy in terms of no systemic disease, no autoimmune disease, and the smokers must has no any ophthalmological disorders. And then for the research instrument, we use adapted questionnaire, and we divide the questionnaire into few parts. As the first part, we describe the patient information into demographic and smoking behavior information. The example of behavior information that we would like to obtain are like the types of cigarette, the numbers of sticks that they use per day, the years of smoking, the smoking status, whether daily or occasionally, and the voltage used. This is for electronic cigarettes. And then as for the second part, we would like to know what are the ocular symptoms that might interfere to the anterior segment surface. So we use the OSD, or Ocular Surface Disease Index questionnaire. This is a very validated questionnaire. It consists of 12 items, and it's scored on a scale from 0 to 4, and the total score will be 0 to hundreds. Okay, and then another part, in terms of visual function status, we use Visual Activities Questionnaire, VAQ, to understand what the visual function disability that they perceive when doing visual activities. So there were 14 adapted questions, and we only select 4 selected areas in which how they perceive color discrimination, the glare disability, the light or dark adaptation, and also acuity and special vision. The scale were 1 to 5, and we also calculate the composite score for each areas. So before we move to the data collection, we completed the pilot study on a small collection of participant, and we found that all of this question is reliable with Chromba alpha more than 0.9. And then we did the data collection during mid-May to mid-June 2022, and then we proceed with the analysis by doing the normality test, Kruskal-Wallis and Mann-Whitney for the differences between group, and also Kendall-Tau B correlation for the association analysis. So here's the result. For the demographic distribution, we obtained 518 samples that is qualified for further analysis. This is all smokers. And for age, the age range is actually from 18 to 67 years old, with mean age 31.27. And then the majority of the participants come from the younger age, which is 43.1. And then majority of the participants are male, 93.8%. And majority of the smokers are from the Malay ethnicity, 76.8%. And then we describe our findings into smoking behavior. About the types of cigarettes, we divided the types of cigarette into 3. TC is stand for tobacco cigarettes, EC is stand for electronic cigarettes, and dual is stand for both using tobacco and electronic cigarettes. So for the type of cigarette, majority are tobacco cigarettes users. And for the smoker status, we only include current smokers, which defined as must smoke at least 1 cigarette for past 30 days. And majority are current daily smokers in this study. As for frequency, we define the frequency into number of tobacco cigarette sticks per day. Majority are less than 10 sticks per day. Okay. And then about the duration of smoking, we divide the duration into 3 categories, and majority are less than 5 years. And about the voltage use, this is for electronic cigarettes. Majority claim that they are using moderate voltage for electronic cigarettes. Okay, and then for the first objective, the ocular complaint, we describe the ocular complaint with the ocular surface disease index score. And the score was graded on a scale of 0 to 100, and we subdivided the score into these 4 groups, which define its severity. So it's from normal, mild, moderate, and severe. The mean scores overall for our population is about 28.62, which considered as a moderate category of severity of the ocular surface disease index. As for visual activities questionnaire, so these are the activities that they answered. We subdivide, we only focus on these 4 areas, which are the color discrimination, glare disability, light-dark adaptation, and acuity and special vision. We found that the glare disability was the highest or the frequent complaint among all of the visual-related activities. Okay. And then for the second objective, about the smoking behavior and ocular discomfort, we define the smoking behavior into types, duration, sticks per day, voltage use, and also the status. It is found that when we do the comparison between groups towards the ocular discomfort, this is meant to be OSD scores. The post hoc analysis of the Kruskal-Wallis found that the dual smokers is significantly have higher scores. Longer duration of smoking significantly have higher scores. And then current daily smokers significantly have higher scores. And then when we do the comparison of the smoking behavior and all of the VAQ component, again, almost the same. The dual smokers significantly obtain higher scores. The longer duration obtain higher scores. And also the current daily smokers significantly have higher scores. And then for the last objective, when we do the association test while using Kendall-Tau-B correlation, we include also age. It is found that age is associated with the OSD and VAQ scores, as well as type of cigarettes. As well as duration of smoking, the tobacco sticks per day, and also the smoker status. But then, if you can see, a majority of the correlation is weak, but then it is significant correlation. Okay, now we come to the discussion. So this study attempt to understand, to describe what are the ocular complaint and the visual-related activities complaint that may arise among smokers. And we found that all of the smokers have moderate dry eye syndrome. It is actually corroborated with many studies. And among the suggested mechanism is due to the lipid peroxidation of the tear film layers, the oxidative and ischemic damage of the tissue, the direct exposure to the smoke, which contain irritative chemicals, the meibomian gland dysfunction, which has been altered, and also the characteristic of the cornea, which also been altered. And about the glaring that the smokers frequently complain, dryness is actually can cause some kind of abnormalities to the corneal surface as well. and it will lead to the glaring effect. This is due to the light beam aberration due to irregular surface of the cornea, and it will cause scattering of the images, which cause inaccuracies of the images as well. Okay, about the factors, aging. Aging itself has known to cause many changes of the ocular surface by reducing the tears production, reducing the goblet cells densities, and the smokers, especially those who are age and older age, is actually the smoking will exacerbate the dry eye symptoms among the smokers. Okay, and then for the dual smokers, which means that they are using both the tobacco and also the electronic cigarettes. We either already known that the tobacco cigarette itself have many side effect, negative effect to the ocular surface, but then with the combination of the electronic cigarette as well, it actually like exacerbate the symptom as well because of the release of toxicant in electronic cigarette vapors, which is known as strong irritants to the eye and to induce oxidative stress. And lastly, about the duration of smoking, numbers of tobacco sticks per day, and also the longer duration. The longer duration, higher numbers of sticks, and also the daily status of the smokers is actually relates with the high concentration of the chemical that experienced by the users, which also reflect the greater levels of eye discomfort to its user. All right, so we also found there's a weak and positive correlation with our smoking behavior and the scores. So as a conclusion, this study...
Just have in mind that your time is already
Okay,
over.
I'm finishing. Okay, can I proceed on this last one slide? Okay,
Sure, definitely.
The smokers in this study have moderate OSD scores, which manifest the moderate dry eye symptoms, and also glare disability recorded as the highest visual complaint. So we also know that aging, dual smokers, longer duration, and current daily smokers obtain significantly higher scores for ocular discomfort and visual-related activities complaint. So this study have few limitations because it is a self-adapted questionnaire. So the participants self-report their ocular complaints, so there might be a bias, and also we don't know what are the presence of external factors that the participant might have. So in the future, it would be very good to have a clinical testing to objectively support the findings and to have other control group to avoid the bias. So I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much for all the audience for listening. So these are my references. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any question from the audience? All right, I have asked a question. So according to this comparison between the effects, side effects, I can better say, between the tobacco cigarettes and electronic cigarettes, how about their effect on the second-hand smokers? I mean, anyone that they are close to smokers, but they don't smoke by themselves. So can you consider it in your next research to put the effect on the second-hand smokers too?
Yes, it's very good suggestion. Actually, it is found that second-hand smokers also perceive the similar effect as the first-hand smokers. So I think maybe in the future study, we also identify the effect on the second-hand smokers.
Even with the e-cigarettes, electronic cigarettes.
Actually, the e-cigarette is still have lack of study that focusing on e-cigarette. Okay. They just put generally as smoking to specifically the difference divide between e-cigarettes or tobacco cigarette is still lacking.
All right. So that's why I just wanted to check with you, because I think you can have it in your next research, future research, to consider about second-hand smokers, I mean the effect of electronic cigarettes on them. Okay, well done, and a very good public presentation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If there is no more question from the audience, So I think we are finished with all our sessions today. Overall speaking, I thank all of you. I enjoyed all of your presentation and I learned from you all. I hope that you have learned a bit too. And good luck with all your future researches. So if our session is over, Prof. Yusuf. I think my session is over.
Hey. Yes, Sharona, thank you very much.
Yes, I'm here. You're welcome.
Yes,
our session is over today, and
right.
then I'll be submitting feedback to you by email.
Okay, we'll keep in touch, yeah. Dr. Sharona, thanks a lot for your time.
Bro.
Right. So,
you're welcome.
Thank you. So the next,
bye to everyone.
Right, the next session, which is the last session for today, shall be at 2 p.m. as scheduled. Okay.